Chair. Chair. Okay. So this table. Give me the type of reaction. Is that composition? Combination. Okay, so we're gonna say combination. Okay, that table. You guys give me an example of a combination. So you said A plus B. What's that arrow? What is the name of the arrow? Equals. It's not equal. Get your butt up. Come on. What is that arrow called? This table, you guys know what that arrow is called? No? I'll show you here. Give me your phone. While you guys are looking for it, what is it going to make? A plus B is going to make what? A. Okay, now give me a real life example with chemicals. Did you say yield? CO2 arrow. You said CO2 plus O2? What was that? Yeah, so erase that. Is that?
And then 2N2 plus 5.
Okay, say that again. Okay, so the arrow is called yield. It is the yield, right? Because your yield, you're making, okay? Yield, yield. You yielded, you made it, okay? So we made that product. And it's CO2, right? Is that right? Is it balanced? Give me another example. Okay, I didn't say reaction, an example. I want another example for combination. What was that? Hydroxide. Okay, what is the chemical formula for hydroxide? So OH. Is it O plus H? And actually, let's make it peroxide. So then, hydrogen peroxide. Okay. Okay, so two examples of a combination reaction. Okay, so the next part, give me an example of the next type of reaction. You guys give me the reaction, they're going to give me the example.
Decomposition.
Decomposition. Okay? You guys gonna give me an example of the decomposition reaction.
With the CO2. And you. And C. Two.
Is it balanced? So it's just the opposite of the one over here, combination. Okay. Can you guys give me another? And give me the generic one. What is the generic? What was that?
I know.
You guys give me an example of the generic one? So the generic one is the one that the A and B and all that.
Yield
Okay. Okay. One more. Give me an example of. You guys give me an example. Another example.
Mg.
Mg.
And then CO.
CO.
Yeah, carbon and then oxygen. 3. U.
So MgCO3 yields.
Mg. Oxygen. O, like capital. Yeah, and then plus CO2.
Okay. Good. What was that? Balance. Okay, number 3, third type of reaction. What was that? Single displacement. Okay. So, to give me the name, you guys give me the generic form.
A plus BC.
A plus BC.
U, B plus AC.
Okay. Now you guys give me an example. Nickel nitrate. Magnesium. Okay. That's gonna make magnesium nitrate. Listen. Now you come over here. Give me your phone. Because I'm collecting. I'm making money. But it's up to the highest bidder. Okay? Good job. Is that balanced? Yes. Okay? Give me another example. You guys. Single displacement, single replacement. Sodium what? Sodium iodide. This guy. Sure. Yeah, one sodium, two chlorine, one chlorine.
Wait. Two. And yeah.
Okay? Next type of reaction. Double displacement, okay. Okay,
I have a question.
I have an answer.
I don't have it.
The new one?
And she doesn't.
Okay. Okay. So, the generic, give me the generic form first. AO. AD. Okay. Now, give me chemical example. Sodium chloride. Silver.
And then nitrogen oxide.
What is that called? Nitrogen.
Yeah. So where are we standing?
Because I want you guys to see it. It's not 5, that's an S. S for solid.
Okay, go S. Oh. And then.
Plus what?
Sodium.
Sodium what? Sodium nitrate. Okay? Because you think that are repeats.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You guys give me another example? Oh, wait, is it balanced? Is it balanced? It's balanced. Okay. Okay, you guys give me another example?
Calcium nitrate.
Calcium nitrate.
I'm reading wrong.
What's that? Well, you started it. Go ahead, finish your rest. What is calcium nitrate and?
And sodium bicarbonate.
Okay, sodium bicarbonate or sodium carbonate? Because there's different. There's a difference. Okay, and that's gonna make. You should be able to look at it and tell me what it's gonna make, right? What type of reaction is this? It's a double displacement. What do we do with a double displacement? What was that? You said they're gonna do what?
No, I said the same.
You said the same?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I was confused.
You were confused? Well, be unconfused. What are you gonna do? What does double displacement mean?
Displaced that.
Who are you displacing?
Both of them.
Both of them. So they're, what was that? They're switching partners. So who's gonna be hooking up with who? Come on, give me the T. Calcium and carbonate. Good job. And sodium nitrate. Is it balanced? Are you sure?
No.
You're not sure, or is it not balanced?
No, that's
It's not balanced. Okay, you're right, it's not balanced. What do I need to do to balance it? This side by two?
Yeah, the ending,
What side is this called?
the product.
What was that? You better repeat. You gotta keep standing until we're done. Okay, last type of reaction. Oxidation. There's another name. There's actually two more. Give me the other two names. Burning or combustion. Okay, give me a generic form. Hydrocarbon. Carbon what? Carbon dioxide. That's correct. Okay. Okay. Give me examples. Real life examples. This table. You guys give me a real life example of a burning reaction.
Cobalt chloride.
Out of a burning reaction? Because you just told me the generic form was this. Is cobalt chloride a hydrocarbon?
Oh.
Out, up. Leg. Your leg.
Oh.
Glucose. Okay, good. Glucose. Is it balanced?
No.
Okay, what do I need you to do to balance it?
6 and on the reactive side. 6 on the carbon dioxide, and
Sugar to the devil. Okay, one more reaction. Okay,
So it would be propane plus H2O.
is that propane?
Yeah. Plus CO2 plus H2O. And then you put a 5 in front of the oxygen of the reactant fluid. And then a 3 in front of the CO2 on the outside. And then a 4 in front of the H2O.
Okay. Okay, let's sit down. Come here and your phones. Come pick up your phones off the desk. Y'all, take a picture of it. What was that? Okay. So, you guys need a little bit of pressure to communicate. You guys need a little pressure to sit there and learn the material that you guys know. And also to show what you guys know. You guys knew this, right? You knew, if you didn't know it, you knew where to find it. Is that correct? Because what did you guys look? Your notes and the lab. So you've done this, right? So it should be here. Why isn't it here? What was that? You blanked out, okay? And part of the reasons that you guys blanked out is because you're too occupied with, I'm taking the phone, and $100. It's gonna be in my pocket, okay? Because of that, right? She's a prime example. She did that on purpose. Well, I'm gonna call you out, girl. You're in my class. So, you guys we have 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Right? That's it. 2 weeks, that's all we got. That's it. No more. Next week, next Monday is your last lab. That's the last lab that you guys are gonna do. Right? So you better start making sure you got everything else turned in, right? Yes.
what is the presentation?
Excellent, good question. So the presentation is the next Monday, right? So I'll give you the date exactly. It's the week of the 14th. Monday the 13th. Yep. Monday the 13th, you guys have your presentation. Okay? On Wednesday the 15th, okay, wait. A little bit at a time. You guys be quiet so I can actually hear her. Because she talks so soft, right? And you guys may need to hear this because it might be important. What was that? I don't want you to come closer. I want her to project.
I know that we have to turn in the presentation, so, is there another one?
Yeah,
Is it the paper?
the paper, that's right. And did you guys look at the instructions on the paper?
Yeah.
What did the instructions on the paper say that you guys did?
You want a concise summary of what we're doing, you want the presentation, the song, and you want the equations, and I think it was like.
2,000 words.
And what?
2,000 word.
It's 2,000 word count, okay? Citations. You're gonna use MLA formatting, since you guys are familiar with MLA.
Is that towards all of the institutions?
Yes, so the citations need to be used for your presentation and for your paper. You can use the same citations, but they need to be in both. Okay?
Or in the paper?
MLA format. Okay? So is there anything else I said about your presentation? The paper.
I think the machine is checking.
Okay, and then if you use ChatGPT, what do you have to do?
Like, kind of paraphrase it into what.
Okay, so you need to, when you upload your paper, right?
Oh, yeah.
You need to also,
Yeah.
yes, you also need to, that's right, well, you also need to load it up, the ChatGPT that you're using. And then that needs to be loaded with the paper that you guys are turning in, right? What do you mean by it? What do I mean by that? So, do you know what ChatGPT is? Okay, so you put in your topic, you say, I want this information out of it, and get that out. You cut and paste that. I need to see that paper, and I need to see the paper that you actually wrote, because they should be exactly the same, right?
So we're comparing.
That's right. I'm gonna compare them, and also I'm gonna look at the terminology, what you guys are saying, right? Because I know your vocabulary from having you guys in class, and how you guys write some of your answers on your exams, right? And then also how you describe yourself in the very beginning, right? Those are all writing samples, so I have an idea of how you write, right? And so I'm comparing that to what we have. And also know your community, right? Talk to you guys. Ask questions, putting it all in my head. Okay? Okay, so the purpose of this is because I want you guys to use ChatGPT, right?
It's just getting the environment.
So you have to use the secret, right? Now, when you use it, you have to be more specific about it, right? You can't just say generally, atomic theory, right? You need to give it guidelines. So that means that you need to know enough about atomic theory so that you can get a paper written on it, right? Because if you just say atomic theory, it's not going to give you much.
Yeah, but chemistry and composition of matter or
Conservation.
conservation of matter,
Uh-huh.
and it gave me like the conservation of matter plus like livestock and CO2 gas and methane with cows and grass. I was like, oh, that's not cool.
Yeah, and so that means that you need to give it a little more information, right? And so that's the important part. So it's what you're feeding into the system that you're gonna be able to get out what you want, right? So that means that you guys have to do a little bit of research to sit there and do that, right? So that means you can't just do it tomorrow and then turn it in the next day, right? Yes,
For the music part, are we supposed to like rap the?
yes, yes, you guys, you're making a video, right? You guys are making a video for the music part, for the parody. You're not doing it in class, you're making a music video, right? Music, it's a music video, that's a parody. Yes, and I get to keep it, I'm gonna show it, I'm showing it to your booth, right? That's all right. You said, oh yeah, I want him so bad. Oh, no, let me tell you, let me tell you this. If I wanted him, I had all this. Right? Yes,
We have to like dance.
and that's up to you. I mean, if you want to dance, you can dance. If you don't want to dance, you don't have to dance. But you have to rap.
Is it like this?
It is you in the video.
Like switch of settings.
You guys can switch up settings, it's up to you guys. How you guys want to do it.
So we can.
Now, but you have to look at the rubric, right? Because it has to be entertaining. If it's just you doing this, blah, 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 do you think it's gonna be entertaining? If I fall asleep, I guarantee you it's bad. Can you what? Can you put some alcohol in the video? Yes, if you can put the chemical formula on it.
What if we do like a voiceover?
What do you mean by a voiceover?
Okay, like we're in like the video, but like the video is like rapping by itself. But it's
Like,
like
it would be, what about animation?
Yes, you can use animation, yeah, that's fine, you can use animation. And you can do voiceover, I see what you're saying, so you're saying you're doing all the scenery and stuff like that, and then you just rap over the thing, yeah, you can do that as well. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you don't have to be literally rapping in the scene, you can do the voiceover after. As long as it's you rapping.
The rap section, I've never.
So that means you gotta do homework on it, right?
Well, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yes,
You heard of Python? Okay, good. So you're still pretty
I
good.
just don't know about this.
Well, so then you got to inform them, you got to teach them, right? Okay, what else? Any other questions? No other questions?
My presentation said, this is how
That's right, it's a group project, so you're being graded as a group. So if somebody don't do what they're supposed to do, that means that you have to compensate for it, otherwise you pay for it. Yes, sir. Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay. You have a question? Okay, if you have a question, ask, because otherwise, that's part of communication, right? That you guys lack, we're working on it.
Okay, what's the length of the sound, like how long?
Excellent, so the length of the song is 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. So it doesn't have to be the full, like, sometimes you get the extended version, we don't want the extended version, right? We want you to get to the point, right? Because you guys, have you guys noticed your attention span? You know? Yeah, is it good? No, it isn't, right? And so, because of that, I'm using you guys as an example. We need to keep it short, sweet, get to the point, right? And also entertaining. Because if it's not entertaining, nobody wants to take a look. Oh, what are you talking about? This is pretty cool. Let me click on to the next part, right? And that's also with your writing. You want it to be pretty cool so that people can understand they want to read, right? Nobody wants to sit there and read and fall asleep, right? After these damn things, some of them, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, shoot me now. They're so boring. Because they don't have to be boring. You guys make them boring, right? Because literally, don't tell you why. No, it's not because of the topic. It's because you choose not to learn the material when you should learn the material, right? Because if you knew the material, you can make fun. No, you make it just that, because you made that choice. Okay? That's right. You gotta break out of your element, right? You guys want to be free, don't you? Or do you guys like to be in chains? Because I can chain you, I'll lock you up to the table right now, right? So, you guys want to be free, you need to be able to sit there and think. You need to be able to make things creative, right? Because you guys are going into a realm. Life is changing. You guys realize that technology is starting to really advance. And if you don't change with it, you're going to be at the bottom. And then you're going to be in prison, let's say. Yeah, because poverty is a form of prison. You guys realize that, right? Because you can't go when you want to go. You can't move when you want to move. When shit hits the fan, you can't leave, right? You're stuck there. Poor people are stuck, right? So when tornadoes hit, when hurricanes come, right? Guess who stays? The rich people are like, peace, see ya. The poor people are the ones that are dead, right? They're the ones that everything gets shit on and all that stuff, because they set themselves up for poverty and they chose to stay that way. They didn't use education to try to get ahead, right? So you have choices. Today, you guys have choices. And the best part is, right now, most of you guys can get your choices paid for. So you can go to school and have somebody else pay for it. I'm like, God damn it, I wish that would have happened. I wouldn't have to take out my loans and everything like that when I was in school. But if you guys are not careful, they're going to take that away from you too, right? They're trying. And you guys are just, I don't need it. I have my phone. I want to be an influencer, right? I mean, really, that's what you guys are doing. So you're setting yourself up to failure. You're locking yourself in chains. Those are choices that you guys are making, right? Because you don't want to learn. You don't want to come to class. Look, you're right here. You're in front of me. Are you taking it personal? You must be taking it personal because it's hitting home, right? Okay. So the point is that you guys have options, right? You can take this education and use it. Use it well, make a lot of fucking money, and give it to me, right? Give it to school, fix this up this place, right? Or you can stay in chains. Those are your choices, right?
How much do you need?
As an instructor, so let me tell you this last year, but I also teach a lot. You have to take that into consideration. This last year, I made $156,000 last year, right? And I was a little upset because I was $3,000 over a certain amount so that they would cover paying for my loans, my former loans, and they would also give me a rebate on my electric vehicle. Just $3,000. I'm so upset. Like, damn, why did I have to work so much, right? And that's teaching. If I was in industry, when I was in industry, I was making about 200,000 a year. What was that?
What is
Industry, I was a scientist. I worked in a laboratory for a company. I made products for that company. I went around and sold products for that company, right? So at the end of the year, I was making a little bit more than 200,000 a year. And I gave it up to come teach you guys, right? Yes. Why? Okay, so let me tell you, I'll give you all of it, give you the full thing since you guys are asking, right? So initially what I was gonna do, I was gonna start my own company, right? And, I wanted to start my own company. So let me tell you.
I would have bought products. It's not, it's just starting. Well, it takes a long time.
And it takes a lot of money, right? It takes a lot of money, so I basically, I squandered my savings on my dream, right? So I had all these savings that I had saved up, right, my 401k and all of that. And I was going out, I built a prototype, I was working on building my prototype. I was pitching it to certain people, right? And then the thing was that the market had changed. There was an incident, there was two major incidents that happened. These two companies that were in the areas that I was going into that fucked up, right? They lied about what they were doing, their data wasn't true, right? And so because of that, people that would normally invest, stop investing. They're like, yeah, you got it. And then you also have to take into consideration. So there's this, okay, so one of them is, her name is Jennifer Holmes. You guys take a look. Jennifer Holmes. And she was actually, she was a Stanford student. She was only in her first year. So she quit school. She said, oh, I have this great dream and this works and it's perfect and everything like that. And she had all of these people investing, tons and tons of people. She was also a white woman, right? And not to say, but you have to be realistic about society. Society is what it is, right? I'm a black man, right? So first off, I'm a black man. She's a white woman and she fucked up, right? And it took forever for her to take responsibility for what she did. She went to jail, I think 2 years ago, just recently. Now this happened, I guess it was about 8, 9 years ago. Just recently did she have to go to jail. And then most of the time she only spent like a year and a half actually in jail, and then she got paroled, right? So the thing is that there are inequalities, right? There's always gonna be inequalities, but you can't use those inequalities as excuses for not succeeding, right? But I also know that at that time period, it wasn't a good time for me to sit there and do it. So I'll tell you about how I started teaching, because the reason I started teaching is because I was going through my savings, and I was just like clearing out my savings. So I was traveling out to the Bay Area, I would go to DC, Washington, DC, and I was looking to try to get somebody to invest in me. I had 2 investors, right, and I needed, you want to sit there at least start off with $500,000 or more than $1 million to at least get started, right? And I didn't have it, right? So I'm like, okay, so what can I do? How can I get that investment? And so I kept pitching, and then even with $500,000, or that's not gonna get you anywhere. You can't get a lab room or anything like that. You can't get the equipment that you need. You can't. So you're gonna need people to really believe in you and give you a lot of money, right? So for instance, when she got her investors started, she started out, I mean, she also came from a well-to-do family already, so her parents invested $2,000 into the company already. Not $2,000, 2 million in the company already. And then, in addition to that, she had a couple of congressmen invested $1 million here, another invested $1 million here, another. So she ended up with, it was about $300 million to start up her, right? To start it up, okay? Now, the thing was that she didn't have the knowledge. She's literally a freshman. She didn't have the knowledge, she didn't have the background. So the shit that she was saying was bullshit. But she was good with communicating with people, right? She was good at asking, she knew to ask. She also knew that she could go into the circles that her families were in, right? So she could interact with them. Well, I don't have those circles. My parents were poor. My dad, he got out of poverty through going to the military, right? I still have family that are living like in houses that would be condemned in normal cases, right? They don't have functioning toilets, things like that. We still send money home to try to help them out because they don't have things, right? So that kind of tells you where I come from. And so I didn't have the money, you know, the money, the little savings that I had, that's all I had to use, right? So I went through it really fast. And it costs money to try to get money, right? And that's something that nobody ever pays attention to. Everybody just thinks it just falls in your lap. It doesn't work that way, right? So I sit there and I talk and I drove out and I did that. I'm like, man, I need to pay bills. Bills are coming up, you know. I had student loans that were still due. I had, you know, had all these things that I had to take care of. I had house payment. Actually, at the time I had 2 houses, you know, and so they were both being rented, but it wasn't covering everything. So I had to figure out, okay, how am I gonna make this work? You know, things were going behind. So I'm like, okay. So my stepmom says, instructors at the prison. So it was West Hills, Toledo. They're like, they need instructors at the prison. So I went up there and I interviewed, and they hired me that same day as an adjunct instructor. Now, as an adjunct instructor, you make 1 or 2 classes. You make a little bit of money, but you're not gonna get rich. You know, it was I think it was like $69 per hour of the time that you teach the students. So, which isn't bad, but it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna sustain business, right? So at the same time, I was still doing my pitches, I would teach, and then the days that I weren't teaching, I was working in my business and doing my grading and all that stuff like that away. But I had these 2 classes, one in Coalinga, one at the prison. And the one at the prison, the students were fucking incredible. I mean, they really wanted it, right? And then Coalinga, they started off slow. They were kind of like you guys, oh, real quiet, wouldn't talk about it. They wouldn't talk. So I'm like, okay, so we got to get these guys to start talking and communicate. And so, you know, I played games, I did that, and then finally, I don't know what happened. And there was this one day, actually, we got left out of the classroom, right? And they would give me a key, right? So it's one of these things. Let me tell you about racism, right? So it was at that time I was teaching biology, and there was another adjunct who was teaching chemistry. We were both black. Now, other adjuncts had keys, but we were both black and we didn't get keys. And I found out about this, and I'm not quite. I'm like, hey, there's something wrong here. And especially because we need access to the storage rooms to do experiments and stuff, and actually get in the fucking classroom, right? So I kept getting locked out of the classroom. And I didn't want a particular person that was, he said, I will take care of it. I'll have everything open for you. Never was open, right? So I'm like, okay, so they're just kind of trying to push me out in their own way. And that made me mad. And so when you're trying to push me out, oh, hell no, I'm not leaving, right? We're gonna sit there and fight now because you're gonna pay for being treated so badly, especially, exactly, that ain't gonna happen. Especially because I know that it had to do with my public, right? Because other people had access to things. And there was a student who had access, they were working as a TA. They had access to things. I had the student come one day to let me in because I didn't have access. So I was livid, I was so pissed. So that was even more reason, right? Fuck that now. And then I saw how they treated the students, right? And how they talked about the students. They're dumb, you know. They're not real college students, right? That was the comment that one of the instructors had said to me. I'm like, what the fuck? That does not work for me. And then, because I look at it as, that means that you're not doing a fucking job. Because you're the one that's instructing them. So if they haven't developed into real college students, that's your problem, right? That's something that you as the instructor needs to do. And if you can't do that, then you need to be out of here, because that's your fucking job. We are here to teach you guys how to be good college students, not just college students, but the best. That's our job. And if we can't do that, we need to leave. Okay, that's how I feel about it. So I was like, oh, hell no. Not only do you treat me bad, you also treat this community bad. You don't have respect for the community, you're talking shit about them, rather than trying to build them up to what they would be, right? Yeah, you need to recognize the weaknesses, but part of those weaknesses are baked into the system that you guys are in. And we need to fix that system. If we can't fix that system and we let it alone, it's just gonna fester and get worse and worse and worse, right? So I was like, hell no, now you're not getting rid of me now, right? So then it became a challenge, right? And not only that, the students that I work with, they were incredible. They worked. I had this one woman, she had 2 little kids, and she couldn't get daycare. She kind of got her husband that left her, you know, all of this, and so it was a struggle. And one of the kids with special needs, and how her family and how they did her work. So she would never have daycare, right? And so she was trying to get into the nursing programs and everything like that. And so she was taking my class because it was one of the requirements, you know. And she stopped coming, and like, you know, I reached out to her, hey, I noticed that you stopped coming, what's going on, right? And, you know, first she didn't want to say anything, I mean, you come in, come and talk to me. And I'm like, well, I can't get childcare and stuff like that. So, well, you know what? Bring me in, right? Now, what made me mad was I had a student that was upset because I let her bring her kids. I let the other one bring her kids too, right? Because they literally sit in the back of the room, you give them something to play with, they're fine, right? The point was that she was there, she was able to finish the class. She's a nurse, right? She was able to sit there and get that accomplished. The thing is that somebody else tried to make it bad, so she reported me, right? So I told a couple of people, I'm gonna damn it. Either that or you guys get them into the daycare center, the childcare center across the way. You know, they had tons and tons of employees that were using the childcare center. The students weren't using it, right? Because there wasn't space for it. And that's ridiculous. The purpose of having a childcare center on campus is so that you guys would have access to it as students. It shouldn't be a burden for you to find childcare, right? Reasonable childcare. And so anyway, so I was livid about that too. So I'm like, this place has to fucking change, right? It was backwards, right? And it still is in a lot of ways. It's still as backwards. There are more people that are trying to change it. If you look at some of the faculty, you start to get more faculty members that look like you guys, right? Same skin tone, they speak the same language, right? So that's a good thing. That means progress. Because at first, it was all lily white. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate my white colleagues, but the thing is that you have a population that is predominantly Hispanic. The faculty should reflect that. And it's not that there are not faculty that are good enough. It's just that how we choose to select those faculty members that we hire. That's the way the system works. The good old boy system, right? We had all these white administrators, they were just hiring white folks, right? And they couldn't get out of their head. They don't see anything wrong with it. And then what happens is that they're disconnected. Their kids are not going to their schools, right? So how many of your faculty members have sent their kids to West Coast? How many of them? Ask them, do you send your kids here? Do you have kids? Do they go here, right? Now that tells you something. If they won't let their kids come here, that probably means there's something fucking wrong with it, right? So that means it needs to change. Now, I'll tell you, since I've been here, I've had a few other faculty members send their kids to my class. Because they know that I'm gonna ride your asses until you get things right. Either that you're gonna stay with me for a little bit and then you're gonna get it right, right? Because you guys are capable. It's your choice, right? Either you choose to learn or you choose not to learn. Those are choices that you make, right? Nobody can hold you back. You choose to hold yourself back, you do that. So I started teaching because I saw injustice, right? And I know what it was like to navigate the educational system, getting fucked over because of the color of your skin, even though you know you're smarter than everybody in the fucking room. It made me so fucking mad. I would set the curve, right? I would set the curve and I would get accused of cheating because I set the curve. Like, come on, right? Because I'm black, you're gonna make the assumption that I cheated, right? But I've been doing chemistry since I was a little kid, right? Probably longer than some of my instructors. You know, because I liked it so much, that's what I wanted to do with my life. But I was told, But there's a guy that was in charge of me, an internship. He was in charge of me, the person in charge of me. I report to him. He told me, you should consider doing something else because chemistry, chemical engineering is really hard. That's what he told me, right? Maybe you should consider doing something else. Like, motherfucker, fuck you, right? And I said that. I'm like, no. And I was raised that I can do anything that I want. I set my tempo. Nobody else sets my tempo. That's how my mom raised me. So nobody's gonna tell me I can't do something, you know? And if you try, you're gonna get some lip, because I'm gonna tell you something, you know? I am not scared to sit there and stand up for myself or for people that I care about. I care about you guys. I've done a lot of standing up for you guys. These programs here at this college wouldn't exist. There would not be a chemistry. This class would not exist had I not come. Had I not come, you guys wouldn't have the bio classes that you guys have today. Because they weren't offering him. They were like, they're not smart enough. They can't do it. Right? They would find 50 million reasons why not to have these classes here. I made this happen, right? And I'm trying to make more happen. You know? I need you guys to hold up your end of the bargain. Come here. Tell your friends to come here to get an education because you're getting a quality education. I've had students that have gone to UC Santa Cruz, now UC Davis. I have one that's in the University of Pennsylvania working on her master's. I have one that finished PhD. She started at Cal State Cal State San Jose. And then she is now finishing up the last part of her PhD. I can't remember where she's at. And I keep trying to get her to come back and teach, but she's like, no, I think we're going to industry first, you know, so. But the thing is that you guys set your own tone. If you let people hold you back, if you let your boyfriend, your cousin, you know, the school hold you back, that's on you, right? Because you have every opportunity to break these chains, and they are chains, right? You're setting the tempo. You guys can go further than your parents did. You can go further than your cousin, right? That's up to you. So that's why I'm here, and that's how I'm here. That's why I'm so here. Okay. So knowing that, we need to get started with some chemistry now, right? So enough about social issues and stuff like that. So I was actually making a chip, which you have to plug into a phone. So it's focusing on STDs because in our community, people will have an STD and pass it without knowing exactly. And so the idea is that you basically put a sample on the chip basically does all the work, and then it tells you, hey, you got this. It also sets up all your doctor's appointments. It contacts CVS and everything like that. So it's an application, an app, and it was also literally a chip that did the diagnostics. So I still want to pursue it. It's going to happen.
Do you have like all your documents still?
I still have everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
you should.
I keep everything. Yeah. But technology's gotten better, right? And so there's a lot of chips.
You should try
Like you can do heart monitoring on your phone. There's a lot of different things. I'm still going to try. I haven't yet because the market needs to be right. When it gets there, it's getting close. It's getting close. But I have things that I need to finish here that I started, right? So there's a couple of programs that I'm trying to get into place and ways to get you guys opportunities to make more money than what you're currently making, right? And then also open up new doors for you guys. Because again, there's so much technology. This place is so backwards, right? Because I mean, electric vehicles. How many electric vehicle chargers do you see this area? None, right? So it doesn't support the new technology. You know how much money is going into electric vehicles? You know how much money the government is putting into it? We're talking exactly. There's about $3 trillion that is going towards electric vehicles between the state and the federal government. Right? So don't get me started with science like Chemtech and the money that is going in there. Fabrication of chips, right? Same type of chips that I'm sitting there thinking about using, right? Fabrication of that. A lot of the chips are being made in China and in Singapore. It used to be Singapore, now which is all part of China. So anyway, those are being made in China now mostly, right? So the US has put a lot of money to try to open up chip fabrication plants, right? tons and tons of money so that we can be self-sustaining. Because the problem is that as soon as COVID hit, you notice how expensive like electric vehicles are, your computers are, your phones are. Like, I mean, they went from like, being relatively reasonable. I know I paid over $1,000 for my phone, right? And so I'm like, that's ridiculous, right? Because we didn't have the chips that were needed, right? They were short, we had a shortage. They couldn't get the computers we needed in time, all of that. But we are not taking advantage of those jobs in this community. We're stuck. Like, we're stuck in the 50s in a lot of ways. And so we need to get out of that mentality, being able to hit technology. You guys need to be utilizing technology other than your phone. And your phone is a tool, but there are tons and tons of things that you guys need to be learning in classes to start utilizing technology appropriately, right? ChatGPT is one of those technologies that we need to use. And so I want you guys to embrace it, use it wisely. It saves you a shitload of time, but you guys need to embrace it and also learn how to use it appropriately, right? So that's part of this project, okay? So, is that? Yeah. So, anyway, let's get started. So we're gonna be doing chapters 7, 10, and 16. It's gonna be a quick run through, baby. We got 2 weeks, right? That's it. So this lecture and then next lecture is our last lecture. I will have a special review session. I have to figure out when I'm gonna be able to do it, but I will have 1 day of a review session for the final. You guys are gonna take the final. You guys are gonna actually take it online. So it's gonna be different than the final that I normally give, right? Similar process. I'm gonna give you guys I'm gonna give you a study guide for your final. So I want you guys to definitely use your study guide. I'll print it out for you guys. And this is it, this is it. You're also gonna have now since you kind of made me mad earlier about this, you guys are gonna have a take-home exam that you guys have to do as a group project, right? A group thing. So, and I think I like this group. The groups that we have set up here, we have 2 people that are left, so I add 1 to each one. So it'll be basically 10 questions. You guys have to figure out who's gonna answer which question, and then they're responsible for getting the answers to that. Don't use ChatGPT because I don't know. Okay, so let's start with writing chemical formulas. Now, at this point, you guys have been doing this since we started, right? You've been able to write chemical formulas pretty much since the very beginning. Now you know how to name them. You should know how to write down the chemical formula, right? You should be very proficient in it. If you're not, you need to watch those damn videos, right? Do some homework, look at that homework. Okay, so we know that the subscript stands for what? The little number, yeah. So that's the little number following. What does it tell us? The number of atoms, that's right. Okay, so since we know that, okay, so how many sodiums do we have in sodium nitrate? We got 1 sodium. How many nitrogens do we have in? One nitrogen.
And 3 oxygen.
And 3 oxygen. Okay, now, when we're talking about these chemical formulas, we also need to start determining what we call the molar mass, or the atomic mass, or the molecular mass, okay? So the way that we do that is we use the periodic table. Do you guys have your periodic table available?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 1 sodium. How much does sodium weigh? What is its atomic mass? 22.990. And you got that where?
At the bottom of the
So,
second.
Of sodium, okay? Now, when we're talking about the amount that we can actually handle ourselves, like if we're planning to make a solution or something like that, we're gonna be using what we call the molar mass. I'll write that on the board so you guys know what I'm talking about here. Maybe. That's fine. Love it when nothing works the way it's supposed to work. Does that ever happen to you? Well, let's see. One second. Like that, okay. So. Sorry, I have to use my third grade handwriting, I'm typing it in, but it's not letting me do that right now. Okay, so when we're using the quantity that we're talking about, it's called the molar mass. And so the units are going to be for molar mass is going to be grams per mole. You guys remember what the mole is? You learned it at the very beginning.
6.22.
Okay, so that would be 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms or something, right? Or molecules or something. Okay, now the molar mass allows us to use mass and convert it to moles, or vice versa. Okay, so that's going to be the unit for molar mass. So in our case, we said we had one nitrogen and it weighed 22.99. I'm sorry, one sodium, that's right, 22.99, thank you. And then we had one nitrogen, which weighs
14.
and then we had three oxygens, which weighs 15.999. And we need to multiply that times 3. Because there's 2 of them. Okay, now we're gonna add that all together. So, somebody do that heavy lifting and do that math for me.
47.997.
Are you sure? So that would be this, that would be 3 times the oxygen, would be 47.997.
85.017.
What was that?
85.017.
Okay, that sounds a little better. There we go. So if we add it all together. Can't erase. So you said 85.017? What's going on here? Okay, so we were talking about sodium nitrate. Let's do a different one. So let's do potassium phosphate. Okay, so we have potassium phosphate. How many potassium? We have 3 potassium. How many phosphates? I mean, how many phosphorus?
1.
1 phosphorus, how many oxygens?
4.
Okay, how much does potassium weigh?
39.09.
39.09. Gonna multiply that times 3. Somebody do that heavy lifting for me.
$117.29.
Is that 117?
Point. 2 billion.
Okay. What about phosphorus?
30.974.
Is that 30.974? Okay. And then oxygen,
50.99.
multiply that times 4. Okay. Gonna add that all together.
About 212.
212.260.
4.
Okay. Now, as I was saying, yeah, molar mass, which means that we're going to be using moles and mass. So in the case of molar mass, the units are going to be grams per mole. So in other words, 212.264 grams per 1 mole. So 1 mole is going to weigh that. And we also have what we call molecular mass or formula mass. So when we're talking about formula mass, or molecular mass, that's if we have like 1 unit, right? We just have 1 of them, right? And so the units that we use for this is going to be called atomic mass units, AMU, or just mass units, AMU. Like AMU or AMU, that stands for atomic mass units. So if we're talking about 1 or 2 molecules, we're going to use that to sit there and tell us how much it weighs. And so in that case, we would use 212.264 AMU. So when we're talking about this, we're saying that's what we're going to be kind of working with. Like if we're going to weigh it on the scale ourselves, right? So that's a whole bunch. Okay. So let's do one more. Then we'll move on. Okay, so if I have calcium chloride, determine Determine the mass, the molar mass of calcium chloride.
40.0.
Of calcium chloride.
Oh,
Yeah.
So the first thing we're gonna do is to do what?
um,
What's that? We're gonna count, okay? So how many calciums do we have?
one.
How many chlorides do we have? Okay, we know that calcium weighs 40 point what? And then chloride,
35.45.
multiply that by 2.
70.9.
Okay, so we're gonna add those two together. Okay, and what are the units I'm gonna use if I want the molar mass?
Oh, wait,
Grams per
G,
mole.
grams.
Grams per mole. So G for grams per mole. Okay,
Is this also 78?
calcium,
Yeah.
what is it in regards to? Or do we get potassium? Calcium, no, it's 40 point. Yeah, calcium is Ca.
Yeah, this is 78, and only for 8. Oh.
Oh, 78, my bad. I thought you said it was weight of 70. All right, I got this backwards. Okay? Not too bad.
Is there anything you like to say really quick?
So AMU is when you're talking about, let's say we're only talking about one molecule, right? We use AMU in that case. And so they're gonna ask you for either the formula mass or the atomic, or say, formula mass or molecular mass. Okay, so if they ask you formula mass or molecular mass, you're gonna use AMU. If they ask you molar mass, you're gonna use grams per mole. Because molar mass is what we're able to work with. Because we can't see a single atom. Can you see a single atom? So, and we can't really work with a single atom. We have to work with a whole bunch. So that's the reason why we have to use the mole. So anytime that you're planning to work with something, you're going to be using, the molar mass. Okay? Okay, so we've talked about the molecular mass and formula mass. Now, the way you calculate them are both the same, but there are little differences what they mean, right? So when we're making reference to our formula mass, we're making reference to when we're talking about ionic compounds, right? Because really an ionic compound is really composed of plus and minus charges of these atoms, right? And so you're just taking the average of what you have. So the relationship between them. So for instance, if we're talking about sodium chloride, we're making reference to that is not. Okay, so if we're talking about sodium chloride, we're making reference to that plus and that minus of sodium chloride. So there's gonna be pluses and minuses of sodium chloride all over the place. But they only fit together with one plus and one minus. So we call it that the formula unit of it. It's that one plus, that one sodium, and that one Cl, because that's how they fit together. So then we only going to take the mass of that. So help me out with sodium chloride. What is the mass of sodium chloride? And you can say the formula mass. Okay, so, because we know sodium weighs how much? And how many sodiums do we have here?
One sodium.
We have one sodium. And then how many chlorides?
One.
Sodium weighs
22.
and chloride weighs.
35.
So we add those two together.
58.44.
And the unit should be,
And
okay? Now, when we're making reference to molecular mass, that deals with covalently bonded bonds, right? So if we add we know that that's covalently bonded because what's all there? What are those elements? That's right, they're all non-metals, right? So we know that they're all non-metals, so we know that that forms a covalent bond, they're sharing electrons. Okay? So it's going to be done exactly the same way. The only difference is that we call this molecular mass. So we would say determine. Okay, so then how would I do that? Same thing. So how many carbons do I have? How many oxygens? So carbon weighs,
12.09,
and then oxygen,
15.9,
and how many do we have?
times 2.
So what is that?
56.
56.
Isn't it like 1.1988? Or like adding two?
Yeah, adding them together.
Oh, 44.009.
Okay. And the units,
Gram.
and yes, because it's molecular. So we want to make sure that we're distinguishing between molecular and molar, right? Okay, so this is just basically showing you what we just did with carbon dioxide. And so they're sharing electrons, so they have overlap with each other. So this is kind of like a model, right? So since they're sharing electrons. Okay, so calculate the formula mass of ammonium nitrate. Okay, what is the chemical formula for ammonium nitrate?
And H.
Okay, you said NH, NH3, NH4.
Yeah.
Okay? That's ammonium and nitrate. What's the charge of our nitrate?
Um,
Where can I find out if I'm not sure?
um,
What's that? -1, so we know that that's -1, and ammonium,
Oh, yes. Positive.
and ammonium is plus, so how many will I need to balance it out? Right. So we know ammonium is a +1 charge, and nitrate is a -1 charge, so we need one of each to balance it out, so we just write it like that. Okay, so that would be our chemical formula. Okay, now that we have our chemical formula, how many nitrogens do we have? We have 2 nitrogens. How many hydrogens do we have? We have 4 hydrogens. How many oxygens do we have? We have 3 oxygens. Okay, nitrogen weighs
14.007.
times 2. So that's gonna be 28.014. Okay, hydrogen, how much does hydrogen weigh? How many do we have?
4.0.
4.0.
32.
Okay, and oxygen weighs
47.
so we add them all up. Sure. So 6, yeah. So 80.043.
Yes. 0, 4.
80.04. And the units aim. Is that this? Okay, so we've already talked about the mole. You guys already know what the mole is, you know what it means. We know that it means 6.022 times 10 to the 22nd. Somehow lost the 2. So we know that this is also Avogadro's number. So I also told you guys, a lot of students always call it avocado's number because it looks like avocado, right? So, think about the mole. The mole was based upon carbon-12, okay? We know that carbon-12 is an isotope of carbon that weighs 12 grams, right? Or its mass is 12, right? And so they basically counted the number of molecules or atoms that were in 12 grams of carbon. And so everything has been based upon that sense. Okay? So, since you guys know about moles now, a sample containing 0.25 moles of ammonia, how many ammonia molecules is this? Okay, what is the chemical formula for ammonia? NH3. Because ammonium is NH4. Ammonia is NH3. So we have 0.25 moles of ammonia. Okay, now we want to figure out how many molecules of ammonia, right? So we know 1 mole is equal to what?
6.022 times 10 to the
That's 10 to the 23rd. And we know that a mole can be a mole of anything, right? But here we want a mole of molecules. So we don't want to mix up molecules and moles. They're not the same thing, okay? And that's one of the most commonly done mistakes. I did that for a long time. Okay? So I want to get rid of moles and I want to get to molecules. So what am I going to use?
1 mole maybe.
So is that going to go on top or on the bottom? On top. Okay, so if we do that heavy lifting, we end up with so why do I only have 2 saved days? I ran out of room, sorry.
Because they will get to the service.
And we had 2 that we started out with. Okay. So it's gonna be 1.5 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. Piece of cake? So, now, since you guys know how to use molar mass, what if I ask you okay? What is the mass of 0.25 moles of ammonia? How would I figure that out? It's going to allow me to convert from moles to mass. Mass to moles. By what? Think about what you guys calculated earlier. What were the units of that? We're going to use the molar mass. So how would I calculate the molar mass? NH3. How would I calculate that? Yeah, but tell me how.
You want to part with.
That's right, so we'll break it down. Okay, how many nitrogens do I have?
One.
How many hydrogens do I have? How many?
Three.
Three. Okay, nitrogen weighs, and hydrogen weighs
One.
times 3. Okay, we have that together. Okay. That's grams per mole. Okay, so we have 0.25 moles of nitrogen. So are the grams going to go on top or on bottom?
Goes on top.
It's going to go on top. So we're going to put our 17.031 grams on top, and then 1 mole on the bottom. So, we do that math.
Four point two five.
4.25.
775.
Okay, and then that will be grams. Okay, but we know how many sulfates do we have? 2. So it should be 4.3 grams NH3. Okay, you guys see how that works? Can you reduce it? Yeah, no, maybe. You do it again? I give you another problem.
Or you want to do it?
So I'm gonna give you another problem. I'll let you guys get this one down first. What we talking about?
How is it have to be?
That your baby. Okay, everybody got it down? Ready for the next one? Okay, that's the question. I'll let you guys think about it for a minute, and then we'll start working it out. Okay, we're starting with molecules. Okay, so you're right, we're gonna start with our molecules. What is the chemical formula for iodine? Not the mass.
Oh,
What is the chemical formula? Are you sure? I2, that is correct. Why is it I2? Because it's diatomic. That's right. Have no fear of isosphere. Okay? So, what am I going to use to figure out the number of moles? This is what the first part of the question asks for. How many moles? Am I going to use the mass? I have molecules. So I'm going to use Avogadro's number, right? Still, is that going to go on top or on bottom? We're going to put that 1 mole on top. Okay, somebody do that heavy lifting. Read what?
It's 0 to 1.
It's what?
It's 0.3902.
Okay, so if we were doing 3 sig figs, it should be 0.390. Okay. Okay, so then that gives me my number of moles. So how do I get the mass from there? From the chemical formula. Okay, so the chemical formula for iodine is I2. So that's how many I's are in I2. Okay, and it weighs how much?
126.8.
Times 2. 253.8 grams per mole. Okay, so then start off with our 0.390 moles. by 2. So am I gonna multiply it by it, or am I gonna divide it? Is the 253.8 gonna be on top or no? Top, because grams, we want grams, right? So we're gonna put that on top. 253.8 grams on top, 1 mole on top. That's right. So the moles are gonna cancel out. What did you guys get? Okay, so we have 3 sig figs. So then the answer should be, well, it's gonna be grams, but we have 3 sig figs, the final answer is gonna be, that's right. 8 point, is it 8 or 9? 9. Okay,
So the original one was 98.982, so would you round the?
yeah, well, it's 9, you said 9,
It's 82 though.
oh wait, it's 8.
982.
Oh, my bad. All I heard was a 2. So in that case, we round to 9, so then that will be 99.0. Okay, questions? Concerns? Cash? Okay, we're gonna wrap it up right there, because I have a meeting that I have to try to get to, or dial in on while I'm driving. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go a little bit early. So next week, we'll be finishing up this packet. That's gonna be the last packet. Next week is our last lecture. And I'll bring the waivers. I'll have them here. I'll probably have them here tomorrow. So you guys, I'll leave them here at the desk. So if you guys, you can come in and just pick them up. Or I'll leave them downstairs. I'll leave them downstairs for you. The practice test, I'll have that up here and after my meeting probably, or when I get to. And if there's any problems with the test, because like right now, we're having issues with or I'm having issues with Zoom. So it might be my computer that's the issue. So if there's any problems with the test, I use my computer to do it, let me know as soon as possible, so that I can get that fixed. Don't email me, text me.